pretty cool. That was pretty easy to get a pretty powerful app together. We did it in about 20 minutes. So now let's do this on the iPad. Okay? This turns out to be quite easy as well. So we're going to go to the iPad storyboard. I'm actually going to move the iPad storyboard up near the iPhone storyboard. So it's blank right now. And I'm going to drag out a split view controller. So here it is right here. Now, this will not be in this list if this is not an iPad storyboard. So sometimes you have your iPhone one and there's no split view controller. You're like, where's the split view controller? Okay, you got to be selected your iPad one. So I'm going to bring this out. Here's the split view controller. Notice it gave me these for free. I got what I paid for, which is I don't want either of these things. Okay, so I want my master in my iPad one to be this right here. Okay, this Shutterbug list, and I want my detail to be that image view, right? So I'm just going to select all and copy here and go over to my iPad storyboard and paste. Okay, puts them in here. Kind of makes a bit of a mess of it, but let's move it around here. So here, this is the same thing. Doesn't look the same because the sizes are different, but it's the same thing we had. And I'm just going to make these two be the master by control dragging from my split view controller over here. And I can pick master or detail. I'll take master. And then I'm going to control drag from here over to this guy and make that the detail. Okay, so now I've got master and detail, exactly what I want. So I'm going to have a split view that has a little narrow thing on the left, which is the list of photos, and the big space is going to be the photo that I chose. I got one slight problem here, though, which is this little segue is still here. So when I click on things here, it's going to try and replace this little view controller with this, and I don't want that. So I'm going to delete this segue. Okay? Now that gives me what I want, but now the problem is if I click in here, it's not going to update this. So how do I do that? That's doing with that delegate method did select row at index path. So we're just going to go back to here, and we're going to have a new pragma here, pragma mark UI table view delegate, not data source, but delegate. And we're going to type here and start typing, and you're going to see there's a lot of UI table view delegates, okay? So we want the one right here. See, it did select row at index path. Right? We want that one. And here what we need to do is get the detail in the split view controller. And I told you that the detail view controller is self.splitViewController.viewControllers sub1. Okay, and again, if we're not in a split view, because this code is going to be executed on the iPhone as well. And if we're not in a split view, this is going to be nil. So this whole thing is going to be nil. So this is going to do nothing because this is going to be nil. So this is great code. I didn't have to say if iPad or anything. It's just this is only going to happen if I'm in a split view controller. So I'm going to be a little worried here, and I'm going to say is kind of class and make sure that that's an image view controller. Okay, but if it is, then I'm just going to call my prepare image controller thing down here, and this is going to be the detail, and the photo is going to be self.photos index path.row. Okay, because it gives me the index path that got selected. All right, so that's all that needs to happen here. So let's go ahead and run this. Oops, no, let's run it on an iPad. How about that? We'll run it on the real device. How about? Okay. So again, it blocked until it had loaded that thing, which is unfortunate. That thing is spinning. I don't really like that because I haven't picked a photo yet. So I'm just going to quickly, before I even forget, go back to my iPad storyboard, and only in my iPad storyboard, not in the other one. Okay, I'm going to pick that activity view controller, which is right here. And I'm going to inspect it, and I'm going to not start it out animating. It's still going to do it in my other one, which is OK because that's creating a new view controller every time I segue, but not in this one. But hopefully, if I click on a picture like Rome here, it loads up Rome. And so here's Rome. I can zoom in. If I pick another picture, let's say Barclays Center, that looks OK, I guess. This worked. It's kind of a little off. You'll see there's the white at the top. That's not really quite right. And this white on the left, do you see the white on the left? What's going on with the white on the left? Why is this happening? Well, we didn't design our image view controller that well to be reused like this. This image view controller is staying on screen all the time and being reused. And it has a couple of bugs in it that are causing, when I zoom in and then I replace it with another photo, first of all, it's not resetting the zoom scale back down to 1, which it should, but also it's sizing to fit and causing it to no longer be in the upper left-hand corner of our scrollable area. So let's fix that real quick. Let's go to our image view controller. Those are easy fixes. Every time we set an image, we're going to take our scroll view and reset its zoom scale back to 1. And instead of just doing size to fit right here, we're going to explicitly set the image view's frame to a rectangle that we're going to make, which is at the origin and is the image's size.width and the image's size.height. Okay, so that will fix that bug. We don't want size to fit anymore because we're doing this is sizing it to fit essentially. So we fixed that bug. That's nice. The other thing that's not so great about this is it'd be nice to have a title along the top. We set the title, but it doesn't appear anywhere on the detail side, right? So it'd be nice if we had a title just like on this side over here, the shutter that says Shutterbug at the top. It'd be nice if it said Jake at the Breakers over here on the right. Okay, so how are we going to do that? I'm going to do that with that little trick I told you. I'm just going to go here to my iPad storyboard, okay, and I'm going to pick this detail view, and I'm just going to embed it in a navigation controller. Okay, and that's just going to fix that problem. So let's go ahead and run. We fixed 3 problems there. Let's make sure all these problems actually got fixed. And you're going to see that we fixed them, but we introduced a problem as well. Okay, so we have this. Oh, this is better. We've got this space on the top right there. Hopefully when we click on something like Rome or free tickets, we'll get, oh, it's not working anymore. Why is it not putting anything on the right? And the reason for that is we changed the detail to not be an image view controller. Instead, it's now a navigation controller. So our code over here, where we update with did select row at index path, it's checking if detail is kind of class image view controller. And that's failing because it's not. But this is an easy fix as well. We're just going to say if the detail is kind of class UI navigation controller, so if there's a UI navigation controller in the detail, then the detail is really the UI navigation controller detail dot view controllers first object. In other words, the root view controller of the navigation controller. So I'm just, if the detail is a navigation controller, I'm just going to look in and get its root view controller instead. Okay? So, fixes that problem, hopefully. Okay, so let's try Rome again. Oh, now we got the title Rome up there at the top. Okay, even if we zoom in on this and switch to another one that's different, it went back to zoom scale 1, and we don't have white on the left edge, right? So even if, again, we'll make it really small this time. We'll click to Newport, Rhode Island here. Okay, it went back to zoom scale of 1 with no white. So we fixed all of our problems. We didn't have that circle, the animating thing animating at the beginning, although it does animate when we pick a new one. So that's all good. So this is really looking good, okay? So this is a typical kind of, I wanted to do this because it's kind of a typical iteration process, speeded up, of course, because we're in a demo here, where you find something doesn't quite work, what's going on, you go back to your code, you have to fix some things, etc. So the last thing that I want to show, now we do have another problem here. I've been showing this in landscape. Let's look at this thing in portrait. Okay, this is awesome in portrait. This is great, except for I can't get at the master. I can't change my photo. It's like, well, the only way to change a photo is to go back here. Okay, so that's not so nice. It would be nice if we had this button in the upper left over here that would bring out that thing. So let's do that real quick. That turns out to be quite easy to do because we're in a navigation controller there. And we're going to do that in the image controller. The reason I'm going to do it in the image view controller is because it's on the detail. It's what's visible right here. Okay, so I'm going to make it be the split view controller delegate. So let's go down at the bottom here, pragma mark UI split view controller delegate. Okay, and I'm going to do this in awake from nib. I'm going to say self.splitViewController.delegate equals self. Okay, that's okay to do. in awake from nib because this will be set by the time awake from nib happens, even though that's really, really early. I'm getting a warning because I have to say that I'm a scroll UI split view controller delegate. Okay, now I've got to implement the methods in that protocol. They look like this, split view, so there's a whole bunch of them here. Actually, I'm going to do the one which says whether to hide the thing first. That's this one. So tab. Here, I'm going to make some space so this stops scrolling all the way to the bottom. So this is the one that says, should I hide the master in a certain orientation? And I'm going to say, only hide it, if I can remember what this thing is called, UI interface orientation is portrait. Okay, so in portrait mode only, I'm going to hide the master. So now when I hide it, I have to do this split view. I have to do these two things, will hide and will show. Okay, so let's do will hide right there, and then let's do split view will show. That's a mouthful. Okay, so let's do that. And because I'm in a navigation controller, these turn out to be really, really easy to implement. Okay, when I hide, it gives me this bar button right here, and I just need to put that in my navigation item so that it'll appear as the left bar button item. I'm going to do another little trick here, is that I want my image view controller, I don't want it to know anything about that Flickr photo thing. So I'm actually going to set this bar button item's title equal to the master title. So whatever the title of the master that's being hidden, that's what I'm going to make that little button say as its title. So I better go back to my iPad storyboard and set this, which is the thing. I better set its title, which I can set in the storyboard. We'll call this Shutterbug. And so that's going to make this code for the split view controller more generic here. And then when the thing goes away, I'm just going to set this left bar button item equal to nil to make that thing go away. All right, so that fixes that. Let's go see what that looks like. Okay, so here I have in landscape, it shows. When I go here to portrait, it goes away. But now I have this button in the upper left. If I click it, it slides that thing out. Okay, if I click somewhere else, it goes away. So I can click here, get some photo. Maybe Rome would be better. I don't know what the Barking Center is about. Rome seems safe. So here's Rome, right? And this is nice, I can do this. But if I want something else, I can just slide this thing out, look down, find a different Rome. Okay? Make sense? And if I slide back to landscape, it takes that button away. That button is no longer there. Okay, so that's what that delegate's doing. It was easy for us to implement because we put the detail into a split view controller. It wouldn't always be so easy to do that. The last thing I'm going to do here is fix that problem with the blocking of the main thread. I'm going to do this super fast, so hang on to your hats. I'm going to do that here, and I'm going to do it in a different way than we did before, okay? Because I want to show you a different way to do this, which is I'm going to create my own queue. So dispatch underbar q underbar t, fetch queue I'll call it. I'm going to create it with dispatch create queue create. I'm going to call it Flickr fetcher. This is just the name I'm going to call it, and it's a serial queue. So I just created my own queue. Okay, brand new queue. And now that I have my own queue, I'm just going to dispatch async onto that queue a block. And that block is just going to have this blocking stuff in it. Okay, all this stuff here. But self.photos, okay, which does need to be in here, unfortunately this is going to do stuff that's in the UI, so it needs to be dispatched back to